Hello and welcome to this, the fifth and the final day of our Audi Media Days. Today, the focus is on the future of Audi and the presentation of our grandsphere concept vehicle. Before that, however, as I just said, we want to start out by speaking to our CEO, Markus Duesmann, about the future of Audi. Afterwards, also as I just said, and ahead of the actual world premiere, we will then present to you the Audi grandsphere concept. Over the last few weeks, you already were able to see a few teasers, and today it's finally time to pull up the curtain, and at the end, Q&A session together with Markus Duesmann, and we also have Oliver Hoffmann, our board member responsible for technical development, on board. Important note, all information relating to the concept car are still subject to an embargo, and the embargo ends on the 2nd of September, that's tomorrow at 7:30 Standard European Time. With that, let's just now review the last few days together, because I think we had many quite different and varied insights, and I believe we've given you a wide and varied overview. The following summarizes what has happened. Hello and welcome to our Audi Media Days. Through our innovative strength, we want to offer people options for sustainable and climate-neutral mobility. More than ever, we are asking ourselves today what the demand for mobility will be in 10 years' time. It's our task, our responsibility to anticipate this and take the right decisions now. We have the biggest transformation in the automotive history ahead of us. And it will only work if we tackle the issues in a very focused manner. And that's what we're doing. Decisions we make today don't just affect us, they don't just affect the here and now, they affect future generations. Now, particularly important for us is the jointly supported target image that clearly defines where we want to be in 2030. And to that end, we have set ourselves quite ambitious goals and targets that also give us a very clear orientation as to what we are concentrating on, what we're focusing on, and what we'll no longer be doing in the future.
We actually conceived this strategy with a different approach. We developed it purely in-house. That's something we had never done before. We've chosen to start this transformation internally. Vorsprung 2030, always with our people, because our colleagues, they shape Audi, and they are what's most important.
We have to think holistically. Ultimately, there's also an attitude behind every innovation. It's not just about financial KPIs, but it's also about issues such as climate protection, environmental protection, ethical corporate governance, social action, compliance, integrity, culture, diversity, and so forth. Vorsprung is not just a matter of only technological, economic progress. It's also ecological and social progress. Our guiding principle is Mission Zero. Under this term, we have set ourselves in my business unit very ambitious targets.
We have a chance now to rethink the car entirely. The automotive industry is currently experiencing the largest transformation in its history, and the key drivers are electrification and digitalization. We at Audi see it as an opportunity and want to position ourselves at the forefront of this change.
With that, we're back, and now with me here is our CEO, Markus Duesmann. Markus, welcome. Hello, Dirk, and also thank you from me. Now, in that clip, we just saw plenty of aspects, and I would like to summarize and say the transformation is in a good and speedy way. Absolutely, indeed, yes. And the change of speed, that we have and that we also have out there is enormous. And of course, we move and we keep moving the big issues like electrification, digitalization, above all, of course, autonomous driving. And for these issues, we have very clear perspectives. Can you give us examples for these perspectives? Sure. One central aspect is, of course, CARIAD, as a software company for all brands within the Volkswagen Group. Or take our electro vehicle architecture, the PPE, or the next step, the SSP. Here, over the last few years, we've really defined the right framework. And at the same time, of course, it was for us on the Board of Management very important to have the entire strategic orientation of Audi further developed. Because the world out there has really moved on very quickly. Just look at the rules and regulations and the future CO2 limit values for our fleets, or if you look at the social expectations for our company, then it becomes pretty clear. That's why we had to rejig our priorities and resharpen them. Now, with the strategy Vorsprung 2030, you as Board of Management team defined the next stage in the transformation. Now, over this overview of the last few days and at the end of the Audi Media Days, what are for you the most important points? Well, see, I think it's our job and our responsibility to make individual mobility carbon neutral and at the same time to retain the freedom of movement of people. That is a central question of our time, and every car manufacturer must address it himself. And the media echo for our plan to, well, leave the combustion engine world has been extremely positive. The public is clearly recognizing that we, as Audi, are really taking the step ahead. And the recently pronounced and published report of the World Climate Change has just made it very clear we have no choice but to bring down our carbon emissions in all industries. Now, moving on from the external perspective, let's have a look inside the company. What does that mean for the people within the company? Well, internally speaking, of course, that decision means it has a huge significance. I mean, people here who for many, many years have worked in certain jobs and areas, asking themselves, what about the safety of their job and what will it look like in the future? And of course, here we also have been able to answer many such questions. On the one hand, you have a job guarantee all the way through to 2029. And of course, we have invested €500,000 for further training and qualification in the new fields of work. And at the same time, by the decision to leave the combustion engine world, we have clarity early on for the entire transformation of Audi. And that is a good thing. Clarity is always good. Now, the entire transformation, as I once said in an interview, that's probably the biggest transformation process in corporate history. So, I mean, we're really, well, got a few challenges ahead of us with it, no? Well, of course, there's plenty of questions. That's a huge step for the company. But we've agreed that we will be very consistent in going down this track. And we've calculated and analyzed how we will be successful also in the future. I mean, the legal stipulations with the European Union has presented just before the summer break makes it very clear and confirms our route. And Brussels has also showed that it is following the ambitious targets of the car industry. And that's something, of course, that we're delighted in. Yeah, I think many would like to know and are interested because we had a number of questions on this in the last few weeks. What's the role, to your mind, that the combustion engine will play in the next few years? Well, obviously, the business with the combustion engines is something that will be an important earning driver in this decade. And let me say this quite clearly. Our last combustion engines, the ones that we were building, they will be the best we will have ever built. That's something I'm absolutely convinced. But parallel to the phase-out of the combustion engine, we are, of course, in our production federation network, readying ourselves for the switch to new and highly efficient and highly attractive electric models. How does that look like exactly? What do we need in order to achieve this idea, this vision of a carbon-neutral mobility? Well, of course, our entire product lineup in all the core segments is consistently switched to electric mobility. Now, that's a huge change for our company. But I think it's an even bigger opportunity. I'm personally absolutely convinced that we can master and solve the challenges of our time only with technological progress. The problems of the world need to be solved technologically. And as we as Audi are making a contribution by retaining the freedom of individual mobility and securing it for the people. Sustainability and individual mobility are no mutual exclusives. That's something that's evident from the electric cars. As a basic condition, we need a swifter expansion of renewable energies and an even faster expansion of the charging infrastructure. Now, charging infrastructure is a good word here because, of course, the federal government only a few weeks announced that they would actually lift and raise the subsidies for private charging possibilities. I mean, Wallbox and the likes. Is that enough?
Well, subsidizing private households is absolutely meaningful and sensible, but also our public infrastructure needs to be ramped up and expanded quickly because the demand by customers for electric mobility is massive. In the first half year of this year alone, we have been able to deliver fully electric and plug-in hybrids in a number of 80,000 units delivered. That's more than twice as much as in the same period last year before. And I mean, next to the efforts of the policy world, we want to make our contribution for the charging infrastructure. How can that look like? Have you got an example? Well, we'll soon start with the Audi Charging Hub. That's a super innovative pilot project. And with that, we're laying the groundwork that we can use lithium-ion batteries in a second life as a storage facility for electric power as an additional offer to the, public grid. And that's something that's exclusive for our customers that they book and reserve. With this technology, we're offering another swift charging offer with up to 300 kilowatt performance without the existing public grid being strained any further. And with that, electric mobility as a whole becomes more attractive. And of course, we also need to think this very holistically, which our example shows. We need to look at the various use possibilities and customer requirements. And more than before, it's not just the car that's crucial here, it's the ecosystem all around the electric car. Shall thus, if you look at the perspective, cover everything: charging, navigating, parking, paying, services, predictive maintenance, and I'm sure even more to come. Now, with that, we've addressed electromobility. E-mobility, sustainability, digitalization, of course, are the big drivers, the big issues, not just for us, but in general. But I think there's a whole number of other further topics that you on the board addressed. Yes, obviously. By working out the strategy, we looked very exactly in which fields we expect to see growth and where Audi can position itself well. And to that, we've really took our strategic process and looked far ahead into the future and analyzed around 600 trends. From that, we deduced growth opportunities for Audi along the entire value creation chain and defined these in bundled central action fields. But up until 2030, we will now implement these aspects in a very targeted fashion. Last week, when Silvia Pilar and John were here with me, we had a number of questions on the strategy. They were predictable, of course, and they are also, was a bit circumnavigating them. But now today, I think we still have to address them in full detail. Otherwise, in the Q&A session, well, you get them anyway. But with a comprehensive strategy, you always also define strategic objectives, targets, goals, clear targets that also define a direction, even if they've not been thrashed out in the individual little nitty-gritty elements. But they give a clear direction. What are they with the strategy Vorsprung 2030? Now, very important, Vorsprung 2030 is really all geared towards growth, both quantitative as well as qualitative growth. That means in detail that by the year 2030, we want to sell 3 million Audis per year. That's around 50% more than we do right now. That's very ambitious, but with a view on market projections and our attractive product lineup, it's absolutely doable from our mind and perspective. At the same time, profitability is crucial. In the last quarters, Audi has proven what quality it can provide and that we can achieve high rates of return within our strategic corridors. That's anywhere between 9 and 11%. With increasing group synergies, a long-term sustainable rate of return of 11% to our mind is realistic. I promise you we'll get questions on that later in the Q&A session. When it comes to corporate success, I mean, that was something that in the past was above all driven by innovations. Or if we go even further back, I mean, look at Quattro or currently our light innovations. What have you got up your sleeve there? What's coming more? I mean, sure. I mean, innovations are and remain the key success factor for Audi. We've got plenty of good ideas, and in the past maybe have found it a bit hard to have them systematically implemented already in the early development phase and to define them in a combining and convincing manner. And therefore we need now robust processes that innovations reach our customers quicker and faster. I'm glad that with Oliver Hoffmann we now have a board of management member responsible for technical development with a clear vision for Vorsprung Technik. He's driving the rejigment of the technical development department flat out and very successfully. Okay, we've already spoken about Audi now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear him in person. And therefore, let's switch over directly to the Technical Development Department, where he is personally telling us something about the transformation of that business unit. Let's roll the clip.
I do see myself to be a very creative person. And I think mover and maker is a good fit for me. I'm a team player. The ideas, the creative potential of our development team, to bring that to the fore and that becomes experienceable in our car, that's my job. We're here in the technical development department where we drive the innovations of tomorrow. The future of mobility is fully electric, connected, highly digital, and above all, it is seamless. Our customers will experience their Audis in their everyday life. Now, vehicle development has changed significantly. In the past, the vehicle was the sum total of all its components, and today we are thinking in software-based systems. So to that extent, it requires a completely new development stage in the 21st century. The brand has always fascinated me. The curiosity for the new, questioning things, to really shifting limits and borders, to remain curious, to try out new things, that really connects me with Audi. Ideas are born in the minds and brains of our 10,000 developers. If I look into my schedule in the morning and I can see there's an approval drive for a test project, I can tell you that is great fun. And I am a huge fan of motorsports and I love going to the racetrack where I really give it my all. In motorsport, you will only win if you bring it as a team effort. If they all work together, if every detail is a fit. Now for us, Vorsprung durch Technik is not just a claim. Vorsprung durch Technik is an attitude and it's a promise to our customers. Audi is a design brand and the light technology is a key component of our Audi design DNA. We develop light technology consistently further and really get away from pure visibility towards communication. The Audi Dna project means we are clearly outlining how Audi will look like in the future, but also how it will feel and how it drives. It goes far beyond over the features that we've known and been able to measure so far. Lateral acceleration, longitudinal acceleration, steering feel. It goes really all the way to highly automated driving. Now, highly automated driving for me is a game changer in the automotive industry. We are developing a project with Artemis and a vehicle that is consistently geared towards the use case level 4, that is highly automated driving. We will bring that car to the customer in 2025. We can live Vorsprung only as a team, and that is extremely important to me, that everyone chips in for one another. This is how we at Audi develop vehicles.
Well, thank you, Oliver Hoffmann. Ladies and gentlemen, at the start of August, we had the Audi Sphere as the first member of a new family of concept cars, 3 in total. Today, now, finally, the second member of the family, the Audi grandsphere concept, which is our vision of the future in the luxury segment. And next year then we will round out that family of 3 with the Audi urban sphere. Before we do so, I hand over, and, well, already ahead of the world premiere, here is the premiere of the Audi grandsphere.
We at Audi, we are shaping the mobile future. With Quattro, lightweight construction, light technology and electromobility. And next, with automated vehicles. This is changing the way we travel, and it also changes our vehicles from ground up. Automated driving will be a whole new form of mobility for our customers. And today, we're showing our vision, the Audi grandsphere concept. We developed the first ideas for this back in 2017 in the Icon and IME vision vehicles. The grandsphere concept is the anticipation of the first product from the Artemis project, already closer to series production. Automated driving at level 4 is a core component of its layout. The interior becomes a living environment. Freedom is, for me, the central term here. We're working on variable seating positions, operation via voice control, touch screens and gesture control. Everything is being integrated into a digital ecosystem. So the car can be an office or a movie theater, or for shopping and gaming, or just relaxation, like at home. We develop cars in line with the needs of our customers and society. The Audi grandsphere concept is, of course, an electric vehicle. It is based on the premium platform electric. And the PPE is the basis for the coming generations of our mid and luxury class cars. The grandsphere concept has one electric motor on the front and one at the rear axle. Power output is 530 kilowatts and 960 Newton meters of torque. Its range of more than 750 kilometers according to WLTP is equivalent to that of a true touring sedan. This battery has a capacity of 120 kilowatt hours. Thanks to the 800-volt technology, it can be charged at up to 270 kilowatts. So in just 10 minutes, it can hold enough power for over 300 kilometers range. The Audi grandsphere concept marks our path to the top of the competition as a pace setter for progress in mobility.
Well, thank you, Olli, for that presentation. We're back again with you, Max Duesman. Well, thanks to the entire team. Our design team around Mark Lichter has done another great, an outstanding job, I think. The grandsphere is a good example how technologies can be used in the best possible way in order to meet the needs of our customers and put them center stage. Now, this concept gives an outlook onto the, well, nearer future, meaning the second half of the coming decade. But what's concretely ahead of us in the next few weeks and months? Well, of course, I mean, the further operational thrashing out of our strategy and the clear decision for a clear phase-out date from the combustion engine world, the transformation that can really pick up speed. It's not just a technological transformation, though, isn't it? It's also a change that internally can be felt and affects the entire corporation, the structures, the processes are changing. So what's the role that Audi Zukunft is playing? That principal agreement between the company and the Works Council representatives, because it also has to do with the job guarantee until 2029, right? Indeed, I'm very glad and grateful that with that agreement on the Audi Zukunft, we have laid the groundwork for the necessary personal adjustments to Jürgen. And part of it is, of course, the already mentioned job guarantee all the way through to 2029. And with it, we offer all the colleagues from all the departments, from procurement, production, and the likes, a well-established qualification further training program so that they can be trained to the new challenges and tasks. And this holds particularly true for the fields of digitalization and electric mobility. And of course, we also want to make our plants more efficiently utilized in the future. So the strategy is now broken down onto regions, sites, and years. And in November, we're heading into the new planning round, and of course, that next planning round will be harmonized across the various brands. Oh, the group, speaking of which, is a good word. In July, our Volkswagen Group presented a new strategy called New Auto. What's the role Audi's playing in that strategy? Well, we will and we want to collaborate with the Volkswagen Group and the other brands and be a leading player in the world of mobility. Because the current transformation process shows that massive investments are necessary and, well, we're not actually able for individual brands to master. For some competitors, this will become a matter of survival. And here, of course, we are glad to be part and parcel of that strong group, Volkswagen Group. And with New Auto, the group has really sharpened its priorities and thus supports the successful transformation of our strategy, Vorsprung 2030. And the bundled strength of the Volkswagen Group is our key competitive edge in the transformation towards electric mobility and, of course, also software. Now here, of course, we are definitely benefiting in central areas from the group internal collaboration in Volkswagen Group, and therefore also the synergies that we can live. I mean, we spoke with Jürgen last week about this, but from your perspective, what are the key elements of these synergies? Well, first of all, look at electric mobility. That's where you need to make the biggest investments. And with the SSP, we as a Volkswagen Group are providing a unified architecture for the entire product lineup. Fully electric, digital, and highly scalable, from small cars all the way up to our biggest cars. And as of 2026, production of pure electric vehicles will be based on this architecture. And in our Artemis project, you have selected modules of the SSP, like the unified cell, being deployed early on and for the first time. And I just said, with Jürgen, we looked at this whole topic from, well, platform strategy as a key competitive advantage. And here we also looked at the aspect of software and operating system. Lots happening there as well, no? Well, the software stack 2.0 of CARIAD will be a unified operating system for the vehicles of all group brands. And another feature of this e to the power 3 2.0 will be the level 4 ability. That means the highly automated driving. That paves the way for a new digital ecosystem and thus also for data-based business models. Software thus will become the lever for synergies and innovations of the future. And the success of CARIAD is thus for us as a group, as Volkswagen Group, of central significance. Meaning the group is providing the framework, or should we say the groundwork, the basis for the individual brands with their individual directions. Yes, sure, I mean, exactly. I mean, the clear differentiation of strong brands is a central element of the Volkswagen Group strategy. And Audi is making, with this clear strategy, an important contribution to the success of the group strategy. Vorsprung 2030 defines the role of Audi as a premium brand and strengthens our own premium positioning and puts the focus on profitable growth in new business fields. Well, that's also why the Audi Dna will be playing a much more central role in the future. Indeed, exactly. And Oliver Hoffmann has initiated that project. We call it Audi Dna because our claim must be that an Audi always feels like an Audi, even if the driver prospectively becomes a passenger. And therefore, we will strengthen our product identity once more. That holds true for our cars, for all products, all services that we will offer. And with that, of course, the four rings continue to stand by and be a byword for unmistakable premium experiences. And of course, we hold true to our brand promise, Vorsprung of Technik, on many, many areas. That sounds like a good wrap-up, Markus. Thank you for that. And you will, of course, be with us in a second in the Q&A session when Oliver Hoffmann will join us as well. And to this end, give us a few moments to rejig so that we all can come back here in the studio, and we'll see you in a few seconds. See you then.